it'll go out. Okay? Ksher Ner Chanukah. B'al pi shein hashmonim nimshoch machar hapsila. Even though these particular oils don't necessarily absorb well into the wick, these other oils, and the flame doesn't really take well, doesn't attach itself well with the wick, nevertheless, it's valid. Hago, now this is it. Shemen zayis mitzvah min hamuvchar. If you want to perform the mitzvah with hidur, you should use olive oil. Why? Because the Nes, the miracle, we're commemorating the miracle of Hanukkah. So what was it in the base of Mikdash? It was oil, olive oil. V'mein shemen zayis motzui. And if you're not able to locate oil, it's not available, olive oil, mitzvah b'shmanim she'orin zach v'noki. It's a mitzvah to choose a type of oil, it burns clean. The flame is clear and it's not smoky. Zach v'noki. V'noagim b'diyuselu, he says, the minog is in this particular region, these countries, hadlik b'ner shel shava. They use wax candles. Ki orin sodol k'mo shemen. Because a wax candle, the light is clear, is pure, like similar to oil, to olive oil. Even the nights of Shabbos, Friday night, when it falls out, because you have 2 Friday nights, you have one. Now, the Gemara says like this: we rule halacha. What do you light Shabbos candles for? To benefit from the light. That's why you light it, right? It's shalom bayis. Ner Chanukah, you're not permitted. You know, also l'shtavish loran. So if that's the case, so if it's a question for illumination, if it doesn't burn well, there's always a chance the person, without thinking, he may start manipulating the wick, that the oil should absorb better into the wick. So if it doesn't naturally burn well, and you always have to somehow, you have to like nurse it, you may do it reflexively, because that's the way a person behaves during the week. But Ner Chanukah, that you're not permitted, anyway, it's not for illumination. So even if it doesn't burn well, you're not going to go near it. Okay, because the person is to be fully aware that it's Shabbos. Therefore, he says the oils and the wicks that do not qualify for Ner Shabbos, nevertheless, you could use them for Ner Chanukah. Hago imenu nosim iner raket eshir b'tzvoso. We're not saying it's hidur. Hidur or not, you have nothing better. What are you supposed to do? On Shabbos, you don't have it. You're not permitted to use it. Because there's a question, you may argue be in violation of Shabbos by using these types of oils or wicks. You may manipulate it. Okay? If you only put into the candle only the time period that it's supposed to burn. You're not permitted to use the light of the Ner Chanukah. Bein b'Shabbos, bein b'chol. V'afil livdok mos o limnos and lo'ora, the Gemara says. What about you're not using the light, you're not using for anything significant. You know, you just want to check to discern between one denomination of coin and another denomination of coin. See? Is that called using? You know, using means you want to read by its light, what you normally. But something which is at glance, even that, the Gemara says you're not permitted. You're not permitted. Or to count the money. Osir, afil tashuv shel kedusha. What about something which is mitzvah related? Which is a question. Go limud lora. You want to study Torah, not read a book, right? You're not allowed. Also, because it's specifically said, pursuing Nisa. Because if in any way people say the light is for some other reason, it detracts from publicizing the miracle. Osir. Yesh b'shematir. There is an opinion that permits tashmish shel kedusha. That if for doing something of kedusha, like studying Torah, you're permitted to use the light. V'noagim lahadlik, but again, definitely we don't rule this way. Noagim lahadlik ner nosaf. The minig is we light the additional candle, that's the shamas. Why? Kidei shem yishtamish laorach. Because factually, if you should use the light, which sometimes it's inevitable, you're not permitted. You're not permitted. So that's it, unless you don't have a Shabbos. But he says, so we added why? That in case you use the light, yel or had nosaf, it'll be attributed to the additional candle. So that's why it won't detract from the presuming Nisa. The light, it detracts. So if you have only the Hanukkah lights, okay, so people say, he's reading, so what's the value of the light? Illumination. But if people see you have the additional candle, it's a higher level, which it's clearly it's not part of the group. So people say, why do you have the additional candle? Evidently, that he's using the light is that candle. It's not the other candles. Yeah, this is the rationale of adding the other candle. You following? Okay. And shu also should like achron. You don't use a Shabbos. Then you don't use a Shabbos.
So is it better to use one candle for the Shabbos?
No, it's better to use two.
And do you also with the one candle? If you use two candles?
No, two candles. Two candles. Better use two candles. Better use two candles. So speaking of, you have this available, he says it's a minhag. It's a minhag to add that additional candle. In case you use the light, in case. It'll be tribute to the shamas, not to the candles. No, you could do it. You could do it as long as you don't use the light. If you don't use it, it's fine. You'd say just to the contrary, you magnify it. First, if it's actually it could be distorting it because then you don't see how many candles are burning. You know, if it's in front of a mirror, it could distort the reality for the outside. Okay, Hago. He says again, in our communities, we don't add. We leave meniach etzlon. You put shamesh shebumadlik haneros, the candle that you use. See, different thing. You know, at one time the candle you lit all the candles with, you put that eventually. That was the shamas. But let's say you have an oil candle. Well, let's say you have one of these beeswax candles that you light with. You know, it's like a lighting candle. You don't put it into the shamas. You have a candle in the location of the shamas. You light them all, and you light the shamas at the end. Right? That's what you do. He says, but Medina Seilu, they don't add the candle. Rak, meniach etzlan, the shamas that they lit, the other candles, they just put it down next to it afterwards. Instead. The lighting candle becomes the shamas. It's not they had initially, they had, let's say, two candles in the shamas, and you light the two, then the last one you light the shamas. Depends what kind of menorah you have. You know, sometimes you don't want to be like forcing it in, you know, into the shamas holder. So you have it already put in, all candles set up, the shamas is in place, you light them all, then the candle you light with you put out, and use that as the lighting candle every day. Right? He says it's better that way. Okay, with us, he says that candle should be longer than the other candles because it has to be obvious that it's not one of the candles. But again, let's say you have it set up in a menorah where naturally it's at higher levels, it's irrelevant. Now we said earlier, if it's designated for a mitzvah, it can't be used for anything else. Right? Can't use it for ordinary usage, only for this. What happens now? We'll talk about if a non-kosher piece of meat intermingles with kosher meat. What do? You have to rely on ratios. It's what would be bittul. What happens if the candle after Hanukkah or during Hanukkah it mixes because you're using your regular ordinary candles? In those days, they didn't have candles which were specifically designated for Hanukkah. You know, multicolored candles. So you designated an ordinary candle to be used for Hanukkah. And that candle, and it was used, intermingles with others, and you can't identify the candle. What's the halacha? Do we say it's not? Do we rely on bittul, or we say you're not permitted to use any of the candles? Afil echod be'elef, even 1 in 1,000, lo botil, it's not subsumed. You hear this? It's a whole question. Where do we find 1 in 1,000 is not botil? Only specific cases. Davishesh l'matirin. If you have an egg that was laid on Yom Tov, and that egg, which is muktzah, intermingles with 1,000 other eggs that were laid before Yom Tov, you can't identify the egg, you're not permitted to eat any of the eggs. It's 1 to 1,000. What about if you have something which is a spice? A spice, which is, you're not permitted, non-kosher spice, and that spice intermingles with in food. Spice, you taste spice. Seasoning, it's a seasoning. Afilu be'elef lo batel. You can't dilute it enough. You'll always be able to sense that spice, the taste, the seasoning. Or avodah zarah. Idolatry, because of this. Also chametz bepesach. Because of the stringency of chametz, it's like under no circumstances is it subsumed, even if you have 1,000 to 1. They're all drabanan, all drabanan. Everything's drabanan. No spice. If you send that would be the rice, because there you're able to actually, you could sense, you could taste the seasoning, right? But anything which you cannot sense is just purely because of what it is, because of the seriousness, the stringency. That's all rabbinical. So he says if the candle should intermingle with other candles, even 1,000 to 1, you can't use any of the candles. Why? He's saying another reason. Because it's davish b'minyan. Since candles were sold individually, they weren't sold in bulk. But each candle had value. So because each one has value, it's like the Gemara says, we spoke about bria, or we spoke about chatich l'skabit. Let's say there was once a hotel on Pesach, many years ago, in the either in Bermuda, somewhere in the Bahamas. There's an interesting kind of hotel. They had 2 kitchens. One, they served, all the guests weren't Jews. Half the hotel were Jews, and they had 2 dining rooms. And the waiters, and they had the exact same menu, except for bread. So they had broiled steak coming out of one kitchen, and they had kosher coming out, both, one kosher, one not. The waiters from one went into the kosher dining room, and the kosher ones went into the non-kosher dining room. They were very complicated, okay? So let's say you have a steak, a broiled steak, intermingles with 1,000 other kosher broiled steaks. Non-kosher broiled steak with 1,000 kosher broiled steaks. Is it subsumed? It's not subsumed. Why? Because it's called chatich l'skabit. Any portion that you will actually serve at a formal meal which has value, it has its value unto itself. That gives it sufficient identity that it cannot be subsumed. If you're serving cube meat, and each person gets 4 pieces on his plate, so 1 cube has no value. It's only multiples. But here, the 1 piece of meat has that special, unique value. It's not subsumed. So the same idea. Since candles are sold individually, they're not sold in bulk. So therefore, each candle has, this is all rabbinical, has a certain identity, a unique value. Therefore, even 1,000 to 1, it's not going to be subsumed. No, in his time, like when people were poor, in the 30s in the United States, they sold cigarettes. You went to the candy store, you bought 1 cigarette or 2 cigarettes. That's the way they sold them. Definitely would be subsumed. Definitely would be subsumed. At one time, they sold individually. Today, they don't do it anymore. I mean, you could also, one time, it was unheard of. Did you ever buy an apple? You never bought an apple in the store. You go to a Korean grocery, $3 an apple, right? One time you bought 5 pounds of apples, it's a bag of apples, right? The apple didn't have any special value, but if they start selling apples individually, then the apple, if there's a problem with the apple's not subsumed when it falls into other apples. Let's say it'll be Arlo. It'll be Arlo, right? It was a yield one of the first 3 years of the yield. It's a problem. It's an akbato. So if you want to really create problems, you go buy a Korean apple, throw it into you got a problem. Yeah, Korean. Okay. Okay. What? Makes no difference. No difference. Okay? So he says, Elo yadlik min ataruvis kol kach. So he says, what do you have to do? Shebevari ner shel hete doleg im ner shel iser. She'ein muter vos muter l'shtamish etzlan. Okay. I'm going to have to see the Chos HaLevavos to be continued.